天天在一起，天天用心听，听见台北的声音。FM 93.1，幸福永远属于你。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
当家？我当家？你当家？我当家？
我当家？
到底谁当家？你来当家。Welcome to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. I'm your host, Ross Darrell Feingold. Today, our very special guest is Chef Timothy Lu Shui Ming. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Timothy is from Pasta Co., and who doesn't love pasta? And Timothy is also one of the leaders of a great charity event called Pasta for Joy, and we'll talk about that a little later in the show, especially as the holiday season is soon going to be arriving, and people are thinking about what kind of charity events. We encourage people to do that. And Timothy was telling me before the show, a great coincidence, we both come from the same small town in the New York City area called Great Neck. So, Timothy, it's doubly an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, before we talk about your career in Taiwan's food industry, as well as the Pasta for Joy charity event, I mentioned that you come from the small town. So tell us a bit about your own childhood, where you grew up.
I grew up originally from Flushing. I was born and raised in Flushing.
Who doesn't know Flushing here in Taiwan? Right? It's like Taipei East.
Yeah, it's definitely like a small Taipei, small Chinatown, everything. So I grew up in Flushing, and then growing up, my mom wanted to get me out of that area to get like a better lifestyle. So we moved to Great Neck, and then I went to Great Neck for high school, and then I went to college. I dropped out of college, and then I worked my way up the ranks. You know, just a lot of Michelin-star restaurants. Worked about 10, 11 years, and then 4 years ago I decided to move to Taipei.
Let's go back to your earlier experiences in the kitchen, because I've had a number of restaurateurs and chefs on the show, and they all seem to take different paths. Now, of course, the most traditional path is you go to a fancy cooking school, Cordon Bleu or something like that. But there are other people who kind of go the apprentice route. But the key is getting in the kitchen early. Who brought you into the kitchen originally? Was it a parent, or sometimes it's a grandparent, or some other person close to the family? Who first dragged you into the kitchen, or did you find your way there yourself?
Honestly, I had to cook. I needed to survive, So it was very interesting. So my mom was a single working mom. So I had a sister, she's older than me, and we just had to, we always had lunch money and everything. We always had like money for Chinese takeout or food, but we always wanted to explore the possibilities of something else. Instead of eating like beef and broccoli and kung pao chicken every day, we kind of wanted to explore. So that's when we started. That's where my culinary, background started from. From making like mac and cheese and like burning A1 sauce with hot dogs and everything. And then and that's kind of where it started. Apparently it was in my blood. And then when I was 18 years old, I had to decide what to do. Instead of going to it's like picking which direction I wanted to go for college. And I saw a culinary competition online, and I joined that, and apparently I won. So
yeah, you were a contestant in something called the Best Teen Chef USA. Right. How do you get involved in something like that?
How do I get involved with that? Luck. Honestly, luck. It was really luck. I was really lucky to get that. I signed up online, and then we had like a lot of people compete nationally first. So we competed in New York first amongst I think 30 people, and I won that one. And then they sent me to Vegas to compete against like the other 150 people. And then within that, I ranked 4th, and I won like $28,000 US dollars. I put that towards culinary school, and then I went to culinary school at the Art Institute of Philadelphia. And I dropped out after 1 month because it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was like the hands-on. The hands-on part was great, but the reading and like the studying, was really, really not helpful to my ADHD. So I kind of like dropped out, and then I got dropped out, I got kicked out a little bit too, And
then, we don't have to get into that.
30 minutes.
Wait, but before you continue with the story, tell us what you cooked for a teen chef competition. What was your submission?
I think we made like this fresh ear pasta, orchette pasta with like It's so long ago. All I remember, it was some kind of like chicken roulade with like some orecchiette pasta and some tomato sauce. But
did you follow a recipe?
Yeah.
Or you put your own spin on it?
No, so this actually, the interesting part is they gave everyone the same recipe.
Okay.
So it was kind of like everyone was on a fair equal level, playing level, and some like were like really bad. Like I saw the competition was like pretty interesting, but that's what we cooked. I never cooked that before. They gave us like 2 weeks to try it, and it was like, okay, boom, we made it. We happened. I ranked high up. Fourth, and then won some money, and that's how my culinary direction started. You know.
Well, what was the reaction from your mom, your family, when you said, I won the New York area competition, I got to go to Las Vegas for the national? Were they supportive, or did they think this was insane?
No,
what was the reaction?
They were super supportive. I was like, my head was huge actually. My ego was so big actually. I was very, very happy. They were very, very supportive of everything. They weren't like those typical like Asian parents like, oh, don't be a chef, be a doctor, you know. They're very like, do what I want is happy, you know, and then we'll talk about the money later on, kind of like that. So yeah, till now she's very supportive, and it's smooth sailing actually. Yeah.
You mentioned you worked in some restaurants in New York. Some of them are very famous, Michelin-starred restaurants, Boulet, Masa, and Caviar Roost. Let's talk about the first one, Boulet. What is an important lesson you learned from a first experience as a very young chef in this kind of very fancy, Michelin star restaurant?
First thing is don't expect to be heard, and second thing is don't expect to be paid well. It's very, very true. We were making peanuts back then. It was like 2007. We were working like 18-hour days. I kid you not. And my sleeping time was on the commute home. Go home, take a shower, and come back to work. We were making, I think, like $3 an hour in 2007. It's like that's like after tax. So it was like really bad.
What was your position, your job within the organizational chart?
Right. Well, when I first started, I was hired as a commis, which is like the lowest of the lowest. Just like picking like shells and like potatoes, peeling potatoes. And then within a year, I moved my ranks up, and I left as a chef de partie, which is like a cook, which means that they trust you with something, but not everything.
How do you make that transition? You come in. You said you only had limited formal training.
Right.
You come in at the lowest rank, peeling potatoes,
right.
But then within a year, you were promoted. I mean, how do you get promoted if you're just peeling potatoes? What do you show them?
You show your dedication. That you're dedicated to this craft, and it's not a job. It's not a job for you. It's a career. So it doesn't matter if you're peeling potatoes. You peel them the best you can do. Honestly, peeling potatoes, there's a technique. You don't just go crazy like directions. It's like and people see the consistency, and they see the dedication and how focused you are to that little potato, and they're like, oh wow, this is the guy that I can give another task to. I can give him apples next time. So now you just went from potatoes to now potatoes and apples. Apples, you see that, then they give you like, I don't know, like peeling carrots, and that's how you move up the ranks. Honestly, time, love, dedication is how I got to where I am right now.
And what about Masa? What's one of your significant memories about working there?
That was intense. Masa, oh man, that was so Masa is a 3-star Michelin restaurant, one of the most expensive restaurants in the world.
Let's take a step back. Tell us about the job interview, if you remember it. So you've been peeling potatoes, and you were promoted in your first restaurant experience. Then you go for an interview at a even more prominent 3-star restaurant. What do they ask you in the job interview, or do they ask you to show us your peeling technique?
Yes. That's true. They do. So Masa's interview was not like a normal interview like this. It was more of like, how are you? All right, here's a box of scallions. Show me what you got. And you just cut those box of scallions until they're like paper thin, until they need to be as thin as your hair. So a box later, which people will take like hours to cut that. But mine weren't the best, but I didn't stop. I stopped until I kept going until they told me to stop. My knife skills weren't as good, but they saw the drive, the desire that I had to cut these little scallions, which means that they wanted to have people like that. It's okay if you suck, but you have a willingness to learn is kind of what they wanted. So that's, and then,
what was the job you had when you joined Masa's
I was a chef de partie. So the first job, Boulet, was 2-star Michelin restaurant. I was like a little commis, like a smallest like potato peelers, and I went up to like a cook, which is chef de partie. And then at Masa, I was a chef de partie. So So kind of like within that 1.5 years, kind of went up already. You know, but they did see the dedication and time that I had with cutting things. You know, but I was still young.
And what were the dishes you were cooking at Masa?
So Masa was a Japanese restaurant, so it was a lot of like techniques. It wasn't a lot of cooking per se. It was a lot of like raw things. Japanese, you know, a lot more raw items. But we had some interesting items too. We had to use the woks. We had to use like wagyu fried rices, like lobster risottos, uni chanterelle like risottos and things like that. So it was very, very interesting. I didn't really learn as much about the cooking part. It was more of the techniques and the respect for the food and the ingredient and the culture. You know, when you walk in there, right when you walk in, you say hello to everybody. It's like super like stern. It's very, very military feel. You know, when you eat, you don't eat first. The boss eats. He eats first just to taste the food, and then we all eat. If it's not good, you get the food sent back. Even for a staff meal, staff meal we had 3 times a day. It had to be like so precise. Your cuts had to be precision cuts. Otherwise, we're not eating that. You do it over again. So that was really a respect for the food, and that's what I really learned from there.
Did you get any exposure to the buying side yet? For example, did they send you to the fresh fish market at 4 a.m. or the vegetable market yet?
They did send me to the markets, but not the responsibility of the fish part. Just because the fish came fresh every day from Japan, so we didn't have to do that. But they sent me to like run like small little errands. Like, oh, we forgot mushrooms, go and buy it. And so I went to like Chinatown buying mushrooms and everything. But,
but was that because you're Chinese? They said go to Chinatown and buy the mushrooms.
No, but probably just because I was like one of the smallest positions there.
And then you went to a restaurant called Caviar Russe, where you eventually became the head chef.
Right.
Tell us about joining this restaurant.
Right. Well, so before that, I had a couple more restaurants. From Masa to Caviar Russe, I had about like 5 to 6 years time spent. You know, so that was the time kind of holding my skills and everything. And then I joined Caviar Russe in 2014. I applied there as a sous chef. You know, so I worked my way up already, kind of here and there. And then it was very interesting. It was a very French culture. We based everything off of caviar. I was there for 3 years. First year I was a sous chef, and then second year I was like executive sous, and then third year the chef left, and then I got the position of the chef.
I'm going to ask you a very difficult and sensitive question because you said a lot of the dishes are based on caviar. Now, what happens when someone comes to you and says, "Oh, you know, caviar, it's bad for the fish and the fish population, and if we eat caviar, we'll have no fish left." Does anyone try to ever give you like the guilt trip about caviar?
Not for that one. Not there.
Well, of course, not the restaurant. Not the people who come to the restaurant. They want to eat caviar.
No.
But other friends. Timothy, how could you eat? How could you sell caviar?
I've never gotten that. The most I've gotten was like, "Yo, can you get me some caviar?"
Did you?
No.
Sneak some caviar out.
So every day it's all weighed out, and we have like 3 fridge. We have like 3 cameras monitoring this one fridge. That fridge is that has like $500,000 worth of caviar.
In all seriousness, is that really a risk in this kind of restaurant that some of the staff might steal some of the caviar?
I think it is a risk, but not a risk at that restaurant because that restaurant they only hired like within, and they keep it very tight and knit, and they have a lot of cameras. Everything's very very SOP'd. So in order when you scoop something every hour, everything gets weighed out. You know, so nothing will go missing.
They really literally are weighing like down to the ounce, or how's it
down to the ounce every time, but. I mean, one good part about my job was I had a reason to eat it, you know, just because you need to always taste the quality of the caviar before. If I serve it to you now, 10 minutes later, that quality might change. So that gives me a reason to always taste. So each day I've had like 100 grams of caviar. So I eat like thousands of dollars.
That's a lot of caviar compared to the average person.
It's a lot of sodium, you know, but that was one of the perks of my job, which was memorable to know.
Did you have experience with caviar before?
Yeah.
In the other restaurants you worked? Had you had some exposure?
I did, but for me, I just knew it was caviar. It was rich things. It was rich little pearls. It was like little black little pearls that rich people eat, you know, because I didn't get that exposure. I was a small peanut, and they just gave me, I was like a small little position. They gave me caviar to like put on the dishes, but no one's going to follow up with you and tell you what this is or the levels or where it comes from until I went to Caviar Russe. When they gave me this whole training, I went to the whole warehouse. They have like sturgeons there, and it's crazy. But yeah. So, I mean, it's a good learning experience.
So, some of us do have experience eating caviar. So before we move on from this part of the conversation, give us some tips, especially here in Taipei. We don't have to name specific stores or brands, but what for shoppers in Taipei who want to buy some caviar, especially for use at home, what should they be looking for? What should they be thinking about, as far as where it comes from, or when it was, should we be looking at when it was produced? What should we be looking at on the label, for example?
Okay, well, I think the origin of where it comes from is, I think that really depends on the person itself. There's a lot of different ones. There's from Kaluga, there's like Kalugas, there's from like the China Yangtze River. Then you have the Italian ones, you have Iranian ones. So honestly, this is really dependent on who you are and who you support. If you don't want anything from China, you're not going to buy that Chinese.
You mean it becomes a political decision?
Yeah, I think it kind of does, really.
Not a taste decision.
Are you going to support something that's grown in China? Right? Then it becomes like that. But if you moving forward from that, then it becomes of how much you want to spend. Really, it's really about the price point and everything. Then you have like the cheaper ones from like Sevruga to Sterlet to Siberians, and then you have the more expensive ones, the Ossetras, the Kalugas, and then you have the Beluga hybrids, things like that. And it's a very hard question to answer for you about this. But if anyone needs help, you can call me. I'll taste it for you.
Timothy, I'll taste it for
for sure.
But do you find people in Taipei do like this kind of Western? I call it a Western style caviar, even though it might come from China. But in my mind, it's kind of the Russian style, or the, you mentioned, from Iran, the Persian style caviar. Do Taiwanese diners like that taste?
From what I've known for being here for 4 years, they don't really like the taste. It's a little salty. It's too briny. They're like, tai xian and everything, And the price point, Taiwanese people are kind of like a CP value. It's not CP value at all. You're paying $3,000 for like this, for like 100 grams. It's like 100 grams is actually very cheap. For like 30 grams, you're paying like 3,000 Taiwan dollars. They're like, I can buy 30. Getting done with that. What I mean? So it's not worth it for them. But it's also about the CP value. I think if the price was cheaper, then they'll be more considerate to buying that. So right now, I think what's missing in the market to actually make caviar, bring caviar back as popular as it is in Western areas, is the value that you got to pay for it, which is actually something I do at Pasta Co. We carry. We carry caviar. We carry. Well, in December we will.
Okay.
We will start having
from
caviar.
Where?
This one's from Italy, actually. Yeah, so we have it. We import it from Italy, and the difference between us and everyone else is that we are going to sell it at a very CP value, because our goal is to educate people, not just by trying to make a profit off of that.
Now, is there any a pairing? This might be a silly question, Chef Timothy, but is there something that this kind of Italian caviar could be paired with from a more traditional Taiwan cuisine? Can we make a dish out of Italian caviar and something we more commonly see in Taiwan cuisine?
I'm sure you could. I would need to think about that. Next time you invite me back on the show, I'll cook it for you. But this needs some time to think. So I'm sure.
Okay, so let's go back to the restaurant at Caviar Roost. You eventually became the head chef.
Yeah.
What are some innovations or changes, if any, that now that you were almost like the boss, that you introduced to the menu? Or the owner said, no changes, just do what we've been doing.
Over there, it was more of like, kind of do what we've been doing, because they're Caviar Roost, they have this whole brand, which I highly respect of that, So they were looking for a leader, not for an innovative changer, which is kind of what I could do, just like that.
What were some of the unexpected experiences, though, about being a head chef? You had already worked in a number of restaurants, some very, very prominent restaurants, highly regarded, Michelin-starred. You probably, like a lot of young people, you probably thought, hey, I know it all. I could be the boss. So you become the head chef, even though the menu didn't have a lot of changes. What's some things that you just did not expect would come to you for decisions, or that you had to deal with?
Right. Well, first of all, going back to what you said, knowing it all, that was a very big thing. I thought I knew it all as well too, and that kind of bit me in the butt. But a lot of decisions were, sometimes when you jump too many steps, you're not prepared for yourself, and I think for me, that's maybe what I did as well too, like I knew I can cook, but could I lead? I wasn't a great leader because I was still very young in myself.
How many people were on the team?
It was a small restaurant, probably about 10, probably about 10 under us. It was a small restaurant. It was only like 30, 40 seats, because it's like each seat was like thousands. So they didn't need like a huge volume kind of restaurant.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you another tough question. Yes. Did the customers ever? Did they ever? I'm going to get in trouble for asking this, but did the customers ever have a bit of a surprised look when they discovered that the head chef was ethnically Chinese at Caviar Roost?
No, actually no.
Or people in New York.
People in New York. It's all super diverse. It's a melting pot of all different cultures and everything. It's very normal. Yeah, I mean that's like having like a a Mexican guy cooking your Chinese food.
I don't know if I've seen that in New York area, but I usually see people from South America, of course, or they're in the restaurant industry in New York. That's pretty normal. Well, did you ever have like a really difficult situation, like a diner, they got an upset stomach, for example, and they went on a rage, they got mad, they demanded to see the chef?
Nope. Well, I mean, if they wanted to see us, it was an open kitchen. It was very open, so you come in, you see me right away, so they can just talk to you right away. But we've never got anything like that. You know, we keep our standards very, very high. Our food quality is very high. Our sanitation is very high, so we haven't had that problem. Only problem we've had was probably like maybe caviar wasn't enough, or they think it wasn't like 10 grams. Things like that.
They actually complain about that?
Well, they wouldn't complain to me. They complain to the service manager.
Yeah. But does that occur?
Right.
And whose fault is that? Is it one of the kitchen staff? They just didn't measure it out correctly?
Everything's measured out to the T.
So why? So is it fair to say the customers try to rip you off?
I don't think they're trying to rip you off. Maybe their perceived value. Maybe like, oh, this is not 10 grams, or maybe they think they know it all. Like, this ain't 10 grams. Bring me the scale. I mean,
Really?
no, they've never done that before. But it's like that style, you know. Yeah.
And how do you mollify them? How do you convince them? No, sir. No, madam. This is the correct amount.
Well, then that wouldn't be my job. That would be the service manager's job to do that. You know, he's a guy who can kind of like make them like fluff them up and everything and make them feel good about that. You know?
So after this experience, you still enjoy caviar. You didn't have like enough caviar to last you the rest of your life. Because I have to admit, I found the taste. I'm one of those people who found it a little salty. My parents love caviar. I mean, we would sometimes have it on special occasions when I was growing up. But I don't think I'd want to. But you're okay with it. You
I
love
eat
it
it every day, honestly. If you had a bowl here, I would eat it right now.
Wow.
I'm very into caviar.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner caviar.
Yeah, maybe like one time a day, but not 3 times a day.
Eventually, though, you came back to Taiwan. What were some of the motivations for you to come to Taiwan?
So I moved back to Taiwan for 3 reasons. First one was my wife. So back then we were boyfriend girlfriend. So we were in a relationship, and it was a long distance relationship because she was in Taiwan and I was in New York. So that was the first reason. Second reason was I heard a Michelin guy was coming to Taipei. So this was in 2017. I was like, you know what? I want to let me kind of push myself to go to Taiwan, Taipei, see what's going on. I mean, not to get a star or like a recommendation, but to even just know being there in the atmosphere, I think is a challenge to yourself. And there was to better myself, just because New York was not the best of best places. It's the Big Apple. There's a lot of things going on and everything. So it was because of these 3 things I moved to Taipei December 4th, 2017. Okay,
let's talk about some basic issues, since you grew up in New York, and although your family history is here in Taiwan. I think a lot of us know that ABCs, or now people like to be called ABTs. Just because they're an ABT, American-born Taiwanese, doesn't mean that their reading or speaking Mandarin skills are up to like the business level. When you got here, when you moved here in 2017, what was your restaurant Mandarin ability? Like, did you know all the characters, for example, for fishes and vegetables and things like that? Because these aren't things we would necessarily use every day in everyday Mandarin conversation. So how was your Mandarin ability within the cooking restaurant?
Speaking or writing?
Both.
Okay, speaking, very good. Writing, like horrible. I couldn't write for my life, honestly. Like all I knew was like 老师好大小中1 2 3. That's it. It was very like elementary, very super basic. Now
was that a challenge when you started looking at opportunities in the food industry here?
It definitely was. But then I relied on my wife to help me. And my wife is Taiwanese. She's local Taiwanese. But at the end of the day, it's not really what you read. It's you get through the doors and you show them what's going on. And that's kind of what I did. But when I first arrived in Taiwan, I kind of took like a little sabbatical for like about half a year, just kind of get to know myself. And I traveled to like Taitung, which is this reason, like Jiayi, Kaohsiung, everywhere. I kind of did like a little half year tour, kind of getting to know the food,
getting in touch with your roots.
Right, exactly.
Literally and figuratively, the food roots and the family roots.
Exactly. and then after that, then I kind of like at the time, after my little sabbatical, I still wasn't. I didn't know anyone. I like knew nobody in the restaurant in the restaurant scene. I knew no vendors at all. So I just had to pick up a small little job here and there, like a little consultant job. It was like no name, but whatever. It paid some bills. It got me through the doors a little bit.
Okay, before we go to our break, just very quickly. When you started to do that, some consulting jobs, and based on your experience at some excellent restaurants in New York, if you could give us a very quick reaction, when you first started getting involved with the food industry, when you came here to Taiwan 4 years ago, what was your initial reaction to kind of the fine dining? Sum it up in a few sentences. What did you think?
Well, obviously, back then, there wasn't, the food culture wasn't as built as it was today. There was, people weren't as educated as what proper like fine dining or things like that were, just because they weren't given the opportunity. It was always 小吃, street food and everything. And then now, boom, you have Michelin star restaurants and everything. So of course, it's an up and coming thing, but they weren't ready. I mean, I can't say they weren't ready, but they were behind its time. So now they're slowly catching up, which is kind of what I think is great. And that's why for me, I think it's very important to keep educating the young, to educate the today for the tomorrow.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station.
如有长照服务需求、长照特别扣除额问题，请拨打1966长照专线，5分钟内通话免付费。一通电话让长期照顾管理专员协助申请长期照顾服务及解答长期照顾特别扣除额相关问题。以上内容由台北市政府卫生局提供。
爸爸应酬不开车，黄色嘟嘟安全多，应酬喝酒不过量，安全回家最上道。爸爸要平安回家哦。
喝酒不开车，开车不喝酒哦。让我们一起尊重生命，拥抱亲情。
亲爱的朋友，您还在吸烟吗？快拿着健保卡到戒烟门诊，或拨打戒烟专线0800636363。提醒您，最近兴起的电子烟、加热烟，因为没有浓浓的烟臭味，就被认为无害。 其实已经证实，新鲜烟品都有二手烟及三手烟的危害，甚至还有爆炸的风险。我是义工蔡依林，所有烟品都 get out。我拒烟，我骄傲。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？
当家？我当家？你当家？我当家？
我当家？
到底谁当家？你来当家。
To Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Our guest today is Chef Timothy Lu Shui Ming from Pasta Co. and the Pasta for Joy charity event. Timothy, in 2021, this year, you launched Pasta & Co. Tell us about the new company.
So Pasta & Co. is my new company that we launched. We're essentially, it's a market within a restaurant. You know, we focus on making pasta. We have a large pasta factory as well in the front. Our store location is Nanjing Donglu, Sanduan 9号. So it's on the corner of Jianguo Beilu and Nanjing Donglu. We've just begun construction, so we should be done probably around April. It's a 140 ping space with a pasta factory in the front. We have coffee and we're a market, like a little Italy style market, and we have a big kitchen in the back. So it's pretty much to incorporate everything into one. We want to supply people with fresh pasta, truffles, caviar, wines, cheese, everything at a really CP value price under one roof.
What were you trying to address as far as a gap in the market? Yeah, because as you mentioned earlier in the show, the restaurant or the food market, what's available, what consumers want in Taipei, it's been evolving. And actually, even in my time in Taipei, I think it's evolving fairly rapidly. But what was missing? What pasta products, or you mentioned you're going to import caviar, truffles. What was missing? What's the gap you were trying to fill?
I mean, the gap is a reasonable price, really, for me. Yeah, one of our pillars behind Pasta & Co. is that we need to provide a product that's quality and affordable to all, not just to the top 20% of people who can actually afford it. For example, if a normal average $28,000 person a month is making, can they come and afford to eat at my restaurant twice a week? They can now, because that's kind of the value I'm going to go for. It's a value bang for the buck at a CP high value with super high quality in a very spacious, beautiful, modern space. And that's what I want to give to people. I'm not catering to the top 20%. I'm catering to everyone else. Yeah.
Tell us about the pasta offering specifically. First of all, obviously the water comes from Taiwan, but what about the other ingredients?
Right.
How much are you using imported ingredients?
Right. Okay.
How much are locally sourced?
So we don't use, for pasta wise, the only ingredient that we use from outside is our flour. So our flour is from La Molisana. It comes from La Molis in Italy. It's a very, very old milling factory, a family-owned milling factory. And we use a lot of different ones, but I think that one for me is the best. And their company has a lot of support. They give us a lot of support as well too. So it's a very good collaboration I'm very happy to work with.
But right there, you said you're trying to keep the pricing point within reach of most consumers. But just importing the flour, does that already start you off at a higher pricing point? Especially if it's very good Italian.
Right. Well, I mean, not with the quantity I buy. With the quantity I buy, I can sell to the stores. It's quantity gets the price down. So that's pretty much what the direction that we go with, So it's not expensive.
And what about some of the other pasta offerings? Tell us about them.
So pretty much right when you walk into the restaurant, you're going to see this huge display case. It's colorful pastas that you can pick and everything. It's about like a 6-foot long display case, fully glass, and there's like about 8 to 10 different pastas in there. So you're going to be like a little kid in a candy store. It's like all these colors and shapes and everything. Right now, it's hard to tell you exactly what shapes we have yet because it's a little 3 months out. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, picture worthy.
Is the demand more for flavored pastas, or are people in Taiwan, just because of the local dishes and other reasons, are they looking more for things like stuffed tortellinis of different flavors? They want either a meat or a seafood kind of stuffed pasta. Well, what's the demand for?
I think the demand for the locals is they want something that they can relate to. It doesn't matter if it's stuffed or whatever. They want a 故事. I think Taiwanese people, they love eating with the story behind that. Something that maybe they've seen. Like, for example, we have this bolognese bucatini, right? But the bolognese, we make it like 炸酱面. But we don't say that. So when people are eating it, they're like, oh shit. Oops, sorry. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. We just, wait, what was I saying? So when they're eating it, they'll be like, oh, wow, this reminds me of something, because they see the 豆干 and the 甜面酱. But we don't do that. We do that on purpose, but we don't name that. We don't announce it. So they're like, wow, this kind of reminds me of when I was young. We have another one that we did for 中秋节 Moon Festival, which we made a gnocchi into a 月饼. So we took taro and we made it into the gnocchi dough and we pressed it, make it look like a 月饼. People are like, wow, this reminds me of when I was younger and everything. So that's kind of what we do. We're not your average Italian pasta. We're definitely not. We are a more of Italian American fusion Taiwan kind of cute creative pasta that we do. So if you want like a perfect carbo, like a carbonara or like something like a old school bucatini bolo, we're not the right place for that. We are a place that's innovative, and kind of creating new and kind of pushing the limits within pasta. And that's kind of what I think for now we're kind of known for.
Do you envision fairly frequent or periodic changes to the pasta offerings? So somebody comes in April, there'll be a number of offerings, but if they come a few months later, there'll be some different pastas available?
Quite possibly, very quite possibly. But one thing that's very different about us is that our pastificio, the pasta factory that we have in front of our store, it's about the size of this room. It's all glass, so it's all transparent, very, very cool. At night, that place gets scrubbed down and we set the tables. So that's a private dining room for a pasta tasting menu only, for pastas that we don't have on the menu normally. So it's more of like a higher end, like maybe like a 8-course pasta menu. So for like more intricate, detailed, hard-working, hard-to-make pastas that we can't sell to the public because it'll be gone really quick and it's not worth the time,
And when will you begin that service, or you've already begun it?
We have not begun yet. Yeah, we will begin that probably once we're done with renovation. April. Probably.
And hopefully then you won't have to have plastic partitions, gobans, or any COVID-19 restrictions.
Correct.
But did the COVID-19 situation affect the development or the rollout of Pasta Co. this year?
For sure. Honestly, we were looking for spaces since April already. And then from April, in about May, we had a space confirmed. And then long story short, COVID happened, and we were negotiating for like rent deductions, everything, and then the landlord didn't want to do it, so we didn't sign a lease with them. And then we found 2 other spaces, and then it was very iffy. They didn't want us, or people were playing games here and there.
Why wouldn't landlords want a restaurant? Restaurants are everywhere. What's smell about? But pasta? Who doesn't like the smell of pasta?
Right, but then those are like older generation people, and they're like, oh, like I don't want that. And
the neighbors are going to complain about pasta,
and then they're afraid of having to get neighbors. Guanxi is not good anymore. So a lot of these little issues. So long story short, we finally signed a lease about in September. So we did about 5 months just looking for areas, and we finally signed a lease. We were originally, my plan, I was supposed to be opened in December, but that's not happening. So it's all right. Good things take time. Things happen for a reason. We're just at our central kitchen in Zhonghe, near Chaohe Lu. So we have this big central kitchen, and we're just pushing our products out there. We sell our pasta kits from out there. We're doing a lot of retail sales. We have market sales as well, and we just do R&D there as well.
So if people want to buy some pasta from Pasta Co. To cook at home for the holiday meals, they could go online and buy it now. Correct?
They can go to pastaco.tw.
And what do you recommending for holiday meals at home?
So we have this little cute Santa hat. It's called a Santa hat Cappellacci di Brigatti, right? And then so we have that on our website. Can I test
you how to say that in Mandarin?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, 帽子角, 圣诞老公公帽子角, something like that. It's very, very cute. We sell those on our website as well. Just go to the website and you can see it.
Yeah. What exactly is it though? What's in there?
So what it is? It's hard to describe to you, but think of a Santa hat. Think of a Santa hat that's super cute, and it's with it's with like a little pork ragu.
And this sounds, you're showing me the photo. It does look like a Santa hat, but it's actually pasta and it's edible. Yeah. And as you said, it has a pork ragu in it. What's been the reaction so far? And it kind of sounds like you have a soft launch now. What's been the reaction from the marketplace?
Nothing but good news. Very adapting. People are very accepting. The textures is the most important thing. I think Taiwanese people love that Q. They like
Q. They like especially with like noodles, right? They want noodles to be Q.
So ours is super Q right now, and very, very accepting of our brand, our marketing direction, our concepts, our staff, our ideas.
How would you explain to some of your chef or restaurant friends, people you work with back in New York City, that you're making pasta for the Taiwan market and they like it really Q? How would you explain that if people don't know what that means?
Q is like Italian al dente, but not as hard. it's like if you add like tapioca starch into that, you know. So it's like al dente with like gummy. You know, it's like that little bounce of like the little bite.
Yeah, you know, it's almost a bit cliche. At least in my experience, I've seen so many English language commentary or articles about Taiwan cuisine and Q. Like, you know, it's like the kind of thing young writers in Taipei, they want to tell the world that Taiwan people like their noodles or other food to be Q.
Yes, I agree.
So hopefully there'll be no more of those Taiwan Q stories. Let's talk about Pasta for Joy. So 2 weeks before Christmas, Pasta for Joy brings holiday spirits from Taipei all the way down to Taidong. What was your inspiration for this event?
So, like I told you in the beginning, when I first came to Taiwan, I did a little 6-month sabbatical. I went all around the island. I went to Taidong, and then people told me that, you know, the Taidong kids are a little bit underprivileged and they don't have as much opportunity as we do normally, you know. So since then, for the 4 years past, you know, I've been always wondering how I can contribute and help them. I wanted to go down there and cook some meals or donate things, but my brand wasn't built enough yet, so I couldn't ask anyone to sponsor me food to throw to them, to cook for them, because they're gonna be like, who are you? You know. But this year I kind of feel like, you know, I surrounded myself with the right people. I have my life is good right now. My life is stable enough to help others, and that's what I want to do, because at the end of the day, it's not about yourself, it's about the people around you and who you can help, and that's what I really respect, you know. So now the second week of Christmas, me and 37 other of my team and our sponsors are all going down, taking a very, very big luxurious bus. You can come down if you want, you know. So, and our whole main goal is to bring holiday cheer to them, you know. They're a little underprivileged. Maybe they don't have the luxury of eating the food that we think every day is normal, you know. I mean, for them it's like wow. We want to give them holiday cheer. So we have 3 main goals. The first one was we want to raise at least $500,000. I think right now we're going to be close to $1 million, you know. Second one is I want to bring a lot of gifts, toy drives to them. We have a lot of gifts already. Third one is go down there and cook this huge, massive holiday festive meal for them. So we have sponsors donating truffles, cheese, and I know truffles. It's funny, right? Because like these kids they bury me like truffles. Like people think it's so interesting that we're giving them truffles, but I think it's an education. It's educating them, like I said before, which is very important to me. You educate today for tomorrow, you know. So yeah, we have a lot of sponsors for everything. We booked out a whole hotel, you know. My partners, my other investors, like invested a lot into this as well too. So I think we're going to do this year. I think it's gonna be very successful. Hopefully we can do this every year. Maybe every year, maybe it could rotate different areas. So essentially it'll be like a passport to pasta for joy. Essentially, I do want to make this into a foundation. Now I have a lot on my palette right now. So, but I do try to make that into a foundation to kind of raise money, keep it into a charity and everything. So the charity that we're donating to, the Chinese name I don't remember it, but it's for kids. It's a Taipei-based one for kids and children. I mean, kids and the elderly.
Yeah. Well, what were the challenges you've encountered though when, for example, you went to corporate sponsors? Did they say, "Oh, but we already donate money to different activities"?
No, I've never had that. I've have not had that problem. So what is how it worked was, I think right now I just felt that my name was good enough. My own brand was good enough to say, hey, I need $100,000 and they will give it to you, and that's kind of what happened, you know. I haven't gotten turned down yet. Actually, not by anyone yet.
Is this because maybe people they want to come along and eat the food too?
Maybe, could be, but I think for 1A, it's a good event. The way I organize is very, very good. We're gonna have a lot of media coverage as well too, but it's not about the media though. We're going to have a lot of publicity, and it's to help for a good cause, you know, and it's cute, it's fun, and my proposal was very cute, and I think overall that's kind of what people want to do. It people are very open to
So
that.
you're gonna do some cooking down there in Taidong?
A lot of cooking, yeah.
In a school?
Yeah.
In a school kitchen?
Yes. It's like,
so how are you going to adapt
crude.
your own style and your own needs to be cooking in a school cafeteria kitchen?
Well, first of all, this cafeteria is not like what you think in the States cafeteria. This is like very, very like basic. This is like super basic. The fridge is like the size of like that. It's so small. So we have to adapt kind of what we have to do. You got to use your brain. So instead of like, let's say they have no oven and they have no pans, it's just like 2 woks and that's it. So we need to like think this is when our skills come to play and our expertise. So we're going to sous vide things, keep it in a big water bath, and things like that. And then when you just like flash fry it like a la minute, pretty much things like that. So our menu kind of has to evolve around what they have. Can't be what I'm used to. So it's, of course, it's challenging to ourselves and pushing ourselves outside of the box. But I think at the end of the day, it tastes good. We had fun. They're happy. We raised money. It's successful.
And can you just tell us again the name of the location where this is going to occur?
The name of location of the actual place is 忠孝国小 in Taidong. It's in Chenggong County.
Have you actually been there previously? You passed through it when you were touring?
I did pass that, but I didn't actually go to the actual school. But yeah, so I did pass that. It's near Sanshan Tai. And then there's more information about this tomorrow on our Facebook page, because tomorrow is when we're sending out so tomorrow is when we send out the whole actual social media DM. And then if everyone actually does want to donate, there's a little link to that as well too. And any kind of donation helps, even $100. So.
And how many people do you think are probably going to come on the bus with you down to Taidong?
38.
Yeah. And how many of them have to cook? Or they're just most of them are just going to watch you do the cooking?
No, it's too many. There's 200 kids there. 200 kids. I mean, it's too much for me to cook. My team has about 12 that's going to cook. So it's a lot. It's sufficient enough. And the rest are doing, some are like coming to help sponsor or to help like decorate. We have Skyrock. Skyrock is a bushi band kind of thing. They're coming to do little kids activities, and then we have Wang Ruiyao. She's a big radio show host as well. She's coming to help the kids. And we have we have a lot of, and we have Anne's coming as well. There's a lot of people helping out with this, so it's going to be fun and it's going to be enough. And I just think I can't wait. It's too long away right now. I'm very antsy about this.
And what if there's leftovers?
If there's leftovers, I mean, I'm sure there will be leftovers. I mean, then I would kids will eat it.
Yeah, you're going to give them some take-home boxes?
Yeah, just take-home boxes. Yeah, probably take-home boxes. Yeah.
Hey, this is going to be some surprising food to take home, though, right? They're not, as you said, they're
how do I heat this up?
Yeah, they're not used to this kind of food. Was there surprise from the school side though, or they're just happy for the donation, or were they trying to figure out why pasta? We don't eat pasta and Italian food down here. Was there surprise from their side about the whole concept?
I'm pretty sure they were surprised about the concept and like the money that we're going to donate and just like cooking, but for me, it's like I said, maybe it's not just about pasta. It doesn't matter if it's pasta or steak or anything else. It's for them. Maybe they haven't had the opportunity to have that. So it's like I said, it's a learning experience overall, and they probably never had real pasta before. Maybe they had dry pasta at best. So for me, it's really an opportunity to tell them what is real and educate them the right way. Like I said, them today is maybe tomorrow. Yeah.
What about dessert?
So dessert, we have a company called, is my friend named Jack. He's a CEO founder of Feed the Wife, the cinnamon rolls, and they are donating a lot of desserts as well, like chocolate cakes, cinnamon rolls, and all these things. Only thing is we got to carry it down. So I mean, it's a little annoying, but yeah.
Okay, well, the event is Pasta for Joy, occurring in the next few weeks, and just give us the Facebook page where people could learn more about the event or donate money.
So our Facebook page is Pasta Co. Taiwan, PASTA-CO Taiwan, and the same is with our Instagram, same thing. And then tomorrow we're going to be posting a social media post on our website. Our website and our Facebook and Instagram, where you can just check it out. And if you want to donate or contribute or kind of help rep presence, you can message us there.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Chef Timothy Lu Shui Ming from Pasta Co. and the Pasta for Joy event.
Yeah, awesome.
You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Good night.
Bye-bye.